opportunity to stay at home and be homeschooled by me and all that. But what about all the other kids? What do we do about an equity officer coming in and teaching kids basically to be Marxists?
Wow.
That's a great question. And by the way, you deserve to be applauded for taking your kid out of school for that. So, if it's okay, I'd like to walk through critical race theory because I think it'd actually be beneficial to everyone here, and BLM Incorporated, and all these sorts of different things that have been coming up. So a lot of people in popular life, especially here in the suburbs of Atlanta, have been commenting publicly on issues they have no idea what they're talking about.
Amen.
I'm talking about the mandatory posting of black squares. I'm talking about this ridiculous lie that America is systemically racist to its bones. I am talking about the bigotry of low expectations. I'm talking about telling young black kids that you are not going to be able to succeed because everything around you is racist. That's immoral. It actually gives people reason to not maybe try as hard, to maybe not believe in the system around them. So let's talk about critical race theory. This is really what drives BLM Incorporated. This is what is now infiltrating the public schools of Atlanta. And if we do not do our job to communicate what critical race theory is and the significance and the danger and the perniciousness of it, then it's just a matter of time before states that implement this will turn completely Democrat. Critical race theory is a school of thinking that originated from the Frankfurt School by a guy by the name of Herbert Marcuse. I never can say his name right. Herbert Marcuse came to America and started critical race theory. It's this idea of a couple things. Number one, that racism is everywhere. That whether we know it or not, racism is in the air, it's in our bones, it's in our DNA. You heard that recently? That we can never escape racism. This is, of course, completely and totally untrue. We know that there has been significant progress made on racial issues in the sense of the Civil Rights Act, Equal Protection Clause, all these sorts of things. We also know this idea that no progress has been made whatsoever is the complete opposite from the days of Jim Crow and segregation to where we are now. It's complete and total nonsense. In fact, I think it's gone to the actual opposite. I think now we are now taking the racism that once existed in the American South and now weaponizing it against people that look like the people that used to be the terrorists. I think it's the exact opposite, and I'll get into that in a second. And so the second part of critical race theory is this belief that there are no individuals. So I look at you as someone who's uniquely made in the image of God, as a human being. I look at everyone that way. For me, I actually think skin color is kind of irrelevant. I think skin color is kind of a distraction. I think that we're actually a lot more complex than the melanin content in our skin. I think we're actually a more decent country and a more decent people when we stop fixating on skin color and start talking about character. If only someone talked about that in our country 50 years ago. So they believe that there are no individuals. So they don't look at you as a human being or as me as a human being. They'll look at you as a member of a group that's either oppressed or oppressor. So you know how they view this? They view this conversation that we're having right now as me oppressing you. That's how it is. That's what they're teaching kids. Because I'm a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant man, and you're a black woman from the South with a child. They will stereotype and label the fact that we're even talking is a reinforcement of all Western tradition, and this is the problem. You and I know this is how ideas are exchanged. This is how we go to not tearing each other apart. This is how we actually see the humanity in each other, right? Speech is everything. Aristotle said that we are the speaking beings. There are only two ways to govern people, two ways. You can be by talking and convincing and persuasion, or by force. This is another part of critical race theory. They don't believe in free speech at all. Sound familiar now? They don't want people talking. Because when people that are talking like a black woman and a white male, all of a sudden we kind of come to a place of nuance and maybe agreement, like, oh, you're a human being, it's awesome. Maybe I really like you. When you don't talk, all of a sudden, then the worst impulses of your sinful behavior bubble to the surface. Speech is all we have to get those kind of ideas or differences or sin that we might have away from you. The other part is that it's totalitarian in nature. We saw this in the posting of a black square. You heard the phrase recently, white silence is violence? Have you heard this? That it's not enough that you're speaking out about an issue. The problem is the people that are not speaking out. So it was the problem was the people that didn't post the black square. It wasn't that they posted something, like it's not they posted a white square. It's the people that didn't post the black square. They're the enemy, they're the problem. They must be KKK members because they didn't post the black square. And go look at how good of a person I am because I posted the black square. Don't believe me, go look at my virtue signaling black square. I'm such a good person. When in reality, it does absolutely nothing to try to advance any of the policy goals or aims that they actually care about.
That's right.
But here's what this is all really, really about. They're trying to destroy something that actually works pretty well, and that's called Western civilization. They're trying to destroy something where we value people as individuals. You can make good choices and succeed. We look at people based on character, not on skin color. Now, some people might say, but Charlie, it's impossible for people of color to succeed in this country. A bitter lie, a racist lie. For example, one of the richest immigrant groups in our country are Nigerian Americans. Nigerian Americans succeed at such a high level. How could we possibly be systemically racist? Of course it's not the problem. The problem, in the black community in particular, is that through Lyndon Baines Johnson and a series of policies put forward by the Democrat Party, we subsidized single motherhood, we took fathers out of the black community, we've demonized the police, and over generations we have created an awful cycle in the inner city of our country. And so, what do you do about the equity officer in your school, right? That was your question. That was the nice like. First of all, taking your kid out of school is a moral and a heroic thing to do. And you deserve to be applauded again for doing it. So, number one, every conservative in the room should help now. You're homeschooling, is that right? New homeschooling moms that are doing a lot, help them. If you're retired and you have extra time on your hand, help homeschooling mothers.
Yeah.
What do you do about the equity officer? We got to run for school board and we got to expose what critical race theory is. I'm going to say this as bluntly and as honestly as I can. Critical race theory is the most racist thing that is being spread in popular life in America. It is no different than the teachings of the KKK. The teachings of the KKK used to be institutionalized in this state. The state came past those awful chapters in history. Now liberals went back to their roots. They went back to their Democrat roots. They no longer wear white hoods. They now carry around Nicole Hannah-Jones' book, The 1619 Project, and they teach your kid that skin color matters. If you teach kids skin color matters, then all of a sudden kids are going to start believing it. And don't be surprised then when an 8-year-old who's white all of a sudden's like, I have white power. And that's not a good thing either. You're going to all of a sudden start to see the hyper-racialization of every conversation. When I was growing up in our country, we didn't have that. 8, 9, 10-year-olds, when I was growing up, just looked at each other as human beings. Racism is now being taught to our kids. It's now being instructed to our children, which comes to their end goal. They actually don't want racial harmony in this country. They want racial disunity. You know why?
That's right.
BLM Incorporated raised billions of dollars. Are you in a predominantly black area where you live? Just curious.
It's West Atlanta, so it's like mixed with everybody.
But
yeah, I would say yes.
Has anyone seen Black Lives Matter, who raised over $2 billion? Did they come and build a school anytime recently in the greater Atlanta area? Did they go into the black community of Atlanta and do a job entrepreneurship center or maybe help people with bills? Of course not. Because that money that went to BLM Incorporated didn't actually ever want to go to the black community. Instead, it went to a professional outrage industry. It went to a professional outrage industry that steers protesters from urban area to misrepresent horrific tragedies, of which many of these things are, and then continue to profiteer off of the emotional impulses and the desire to make our country more racially divided. So what we can do is this. You and I together, and people out here, the more conversations we have like this, it bothers them. The more we're able to point out exactly what this is, that's how we're going to win, because there's only one race, the human race.
Amen.
And they hate it when we say that. Thank you so much. God bless you.